Welcome, sentient beings from all known universes and beyond. It's time to activate your cranial downlinks and prepare to receive a raft of discussion on a cosmic ocean of science fiction and fantasy topics, interviews with local area genre devotees, and insightful prognostication by our soothsayers of science fiction, our forecasters of fantasy, and any other beings that happen to get caught in our gravity well. This is the Galactic Driftwood Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Galactic Driftwood Podcast. I'm Bill.
I'm Linda.
I'm Charles. That's Audie.
I'm Jenna.
I'm Chris.
And we got kind of a fun show, I think, planned today. We all got together recently on the veranda and at our place here, and we watched an oldie sci-fi comedy, Earth Girls Are Easy. And I had actually never seen that before, but I think, who else? Jenna, you've seen it. You'd seen it.
Oh, yeah.
And Chris, had you seen it?
I have not seen it.
Okay. And Charles?
I saw it when I was a younger person.
Okay. What about
but
you?
I didn't remember that much of it.
Audie, had you seen it?
Only the first part where they landed in the pool.
Okay. Just
I
that
couldn't
far.
take it anymore.
I couldn't take it.
I think
All
most
right.
people probably would have turned it off at that point, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I'm interested, I guess, in those of you that had seen it before. I'm assuming that it was a long time ago. How did viewing it now compare with your memory of what it was when the first time you saw it? Was it better, worse?
Better because it was worse than what I remembered. I don't know how else to say that. Because, I knew it was a goofy show and there's a lot of jokes that I thought I understood. And now 10 years later, no, probably, because obviously I didn't see it when it came out because I would have been 5.
Came out in 88.
88, 89, yeah.
I saw it in college and I was like, oh, that's funny. And now, in my 30s, I really get the jokes and I'm like, oh my God, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Right. So it stars Geena Davis, Jeff Goldblum, Jim Carrey, and Damon Wayans. And one of the things we talked about as we were watching it was that Jim Carrey really didn't have to act in it at all. He just had to be himself, right?
Neither did Goldblum.
Yeah, right. Right.
Two out of the 3 main aliens in this basically play themselves. If they were to keep their makeup on for the whole show, you would kind of figure out who they are. Just because of the way that they act. But yeah, Jim Carrey especially was his same kind of goofy self from Ace Ventura, from The Mask, all of his old traditional kind of comedies that he's done. It's him to a T. It is. Yeah,
you can see the genesis of all those later instances of him in movies in this movie, right?
Yeah.
And, I have to wonder if this was how he met Damon Wayans. I'm guessing because of the comedy scene, because Jim Carrey used to do stand-up. They probably already knew each other. Because then after this, because very In Living Color. In Living Color started in 1990. So you have to know they were starting to pitch, and this movie might have actually, with their acting and the comedy, might have helped them with that. Because it seemed to somehow didn't hurt them.
Right. This is true. Surprisingly.
Looks at their resume. Huh.
Yeah.
Those are easy,
Yeah. Well, let's see. Somebody want to give us a quick synopsis of the plot? Chris, Jenna?
Basically 3 fuzzy aliens who've been in space way too long and looking for action accidentally get themselves crashed into the swimming pool of a Valley Girl
played by Geena Davis.
Yep, of a Valley Girl stylist who is, it's obviously the height of 80s, going into 90s pop culture
That's an understatement.
with a musical kick.
Yes, right.
And if you're triggered by gender stereotypes, don't watch it.
Right.
I laughed at them, but
Yeah,
if that's
you
not your
can't go into
thing.
this with a serious mind that taking into account this was made in 1988.
Right.
There's going to be some things that people kind of would shake their head at today or get a little bit upset about, but you have to go into this with a little bit of an open mind of the timing that this was made at.
It's very 80s. This movie.
Yes, very 80s. It was on that note, it was kind of is this a musical or a movie or what is this? And that for a period of time when you're watching it, you forget that it's a musical, and then it goes back to being a musical. So it's very interesting in that respect.
Yeah. I mean, when it's over, I was still kind of asking, what was it really?
Yeah.
But it was funny.
Yeah, it was funny. So I think our reaction here is pretty much what you'd expect from this movie. It wasn't when
comedy
it first
gold.
starts out. Yeah,
Right.
the first 5 minutes of the movie, my impression was, are we seriously gonna watch these fuzzy aliens like this weird poorly put together spaceship set? It was all very bizarre. And then once they crash land on Earth, which somehow miraculously happens through some kind of weird broken thing on the ship, and they happen to crash right where they kind of wanted to be. That was all kind of weird. But it's 1980s. It's Jeff Goldblum. It's Jim Carrey. It's Damon Wayans.
I mean, don't forget,
like,
Chris, that
throw something out there, see what they do.
the Force didn't destroy her house and
Yes.
kill her.
Yeah. The whole thing was just it was pretty interesting. I think it started out a little bit weird, but then it kind of pulled itself together for the rest of the movie. Kind of gave you a little bit of a plot to work with, and the actors running around doing the weird things that they were doing, again, kind of playing themselves. I don't know if it was you, Jenna, or somebody had mentioned that Jeff Goldblum in this movie is basically playing himself from Thor Ragnarok. It's the same guy, just on a different planet, basically. And I felt like that was pretty true. Jeff Goldblum basically plays himself in a lot of other movies. So,
And it's the type of movie that it's meant to be watched in a group, so you could do a Mystery Science Theater 3000 commentary. I feel
Right.
like,
And we did.
yeah, I think that's 100% correct. It was. I would not probably, and I watch just about everything, to be clear. I watch it good or bad. I watch just about everything. But what got me through that
you've
movie,
seen Twilight, for God's sakes.
yeah. Oh, so what got me through that movie was the group setting that we had. So we were able to enjoy it with friends, good food, drinks, or what have. And that really what sold it for me. That was kind of an experience that you share with other friends. So you have that open dialogue commentary while you're watching it. If you don't have that, it can be very, very, very hard, even for me, just to sit there and watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right.
I watched everything.
I concur
Helped me
with
get
that.
through it, being in a group.
What's that, Audie?
It helped me get through watching
Yeah.
it in the group.
You should have watched it before,
tried
but
watching-
tuned out when they crash landed in the pool. So you didn't get very far in at all.
No,
And Charles, you'd never seen it before, you said, oh no, you had. seen it.
I believe I did see it probably shortly after it was out.
Yeah.
I
And was that
remember a lot of the
that
scenes. But what's that?
I said it was that memorable that you're.
Yeah, no,
Early memories.
I do not remember the experience of watching it though. So, and it's just one. I don't know.
I thought it was kind of a.
I'd agree. I don't think it'd be very much fun to watch alone.
No, it was a good lighthearted movie to watch with a group.
Mhm.
A lot of opportunity to pipe in with some quips appropriate to the scene that you're watching. That sort of thing.
Yeah, well, and some of it's just fun. Those of us that lived through the 80s,
Right.
Somehow.
exactly.
this is kind of a fun movie just to
Just to reflect back on.
Relive.
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it definitely watching it, you understand why they refer to the 80s as the decade of cocaine.
Yeah. Right. Well, there were no cell phones back then, so you had to do something.
I guess so. But it's funny when you look at what was the progression of this? Because Geena Davis and Jeff Goldblum ended up being in a lot of movies together compared to, almost like a Guy Ritchie scenario, because you see a lot of the same actors in his movie. Because first they did a comedy in 85 called Transylvania 6-5000.
Yep, I remember.
Right.
Which I thought was fun. And it's got a good comedic cast. And then she does The Fly, which is crazy how she went from that to a more serious sci-fi horror role with Jeff Goldblum in The Fly. And then they did this.
Right.
So it's like,
He doesn't turn
you're
into.
pretty, you can act, let's just throw it in here.
I remember watching the Transylvania 6-5000, but he doesn't turn into a creature on that one too, does he?
No, he's one of the tabloid reporters.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But I was just contemplating whether or not it was just a thing of his.
Turning into creatures.
Well, I mean, this one, he's an alien that needed to be shaved and powdered or whatever.
Right. Right. And
then in The Fly.
yeah.
Oh, The Fly. Oh my God, I hated that movie.
Oh, it was a wonderful movie.
Oh, it was creepy.
I was just saying, I kind of want to watch that one again. It's been a long time for me.
It still ekes me out.
I know.
It's been 20 years
We might have to do that as a backyard movie night.
or longer.
Yeah, I agree with that. That should definitely be on the docket.
Right.
I don't know if Gina or Katie Otten can handle that one.
Oh,
So we'll have to see.
All right. Yeah, Katie's not a big fan of horror films at all. Definitely more into the lighthearted comedy, I think.
Yeah, the ending
musicals.
might make her cry.
It might.
probably.
And I loved how these aliens, so they're all covered in hair, right? And they get shaved off, and then there are these big hulks, these hot dudes, and
I
then
know.
there's this whole nightclub scene where everybody's hitting on them. And the funny thing is, of course, because they're aliens, they don't speak any English, but they're great at mimicking sounds they hear. So they pick up key phrases that they just utter back at different times, which is kind of hilarious.
Especially from watching TV and ads and things like that. That was
Right.
a funny scene. They're
Right.
getting their education.
Yeah.
So it's like I feel like the scale of what they added in terms of the mimicking, it's like Jeff Goldblum, they did 100% audio work after they filmed him. Damon Wayans, I could see they probably only had to do 50% because I could see him being able to mimic, like to do it funny for the audio.
Right.
And then Jim Carrey was probably like 98% just him making those noises back.
Yeah, right.
There's like no audio work. They're like, okay, we need you to do Jim Carrey scene. And the guy in the audio effects is like, oh, thank God. Oh, it's going to be a light day.
Yeah. I can take my lunch break while we speed through that. Yeah. So there's the three of them in there.
I mean,
Alien
look at Jim Carrey. It's
guises.
just Jim Carrey.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Classic. So
So definitely in terms of a throwback party night movie, Galactic Driftwood had a good time, and we highly recommend to our audience that if you just need something fun, light, and not serious, that you don't have to keep up with the plot with your friends, like it's a good
right.
summer movie night.
It
Yeah.
is. It's not too short. It's not too long.
You don't mind
Yeah,
getting up and refreshing your
10 out of 10
snack
agree
plate,
with it. Yeah.
right? Yep.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, let's move along here. So this weekend in Omaha is the Potter Fair. So it's a Harry Potter themed event held at the Bellevue Berry Farm. And Linda and I went out and checked it out yesterday afternoon. And it was pretty nice being able to get out and see some old friends that we hadn't seen in over a year due to the pandemic. Pretty much everybody was maskless, except for the performers. They would wear their mask when they were interacting with people. But other than that, everybody was kind of maskless. It's pretty hot here. We had we're kind of in the midst of a heat wave, so it was like 92 something yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
So it was a warm one out there, but if you were standing, they got big trees, so you can stand in the shade of the trees and go in and visit a lot of the different shops. And they also had some actors performing various skits there, doing different things. They've got all kinds of vendors selling different stuff, from pottery to crafts. There's a scene there where everybody kind of sitting around, having lunch or whatever and watching a little show up front. Now, so this is an interesting scene here. Came across this and decided I had to have one of these for my Dragonborn character when I'm playing D&D.
Nice.
So, Linda, if you can cut back to the big screen of all of us, I'll show. So there's my mug I picked up. So that's for my Dragonborn character, Torin. So he's going to be drinking out of that the next time we battle at our D&D game. So
What's it made out of?
well, it's an aluminum, basically it's an aluminum mug. So you can see the aluminum inside. And then it's just covered in these scales that kind of feel plasticky. I'm not sure what the eyeball's glass, obviously.
That's cool.
But yeah. So they had a whole bunch of those there, and I saw this one and I thought, yep, that's it.
So
now I
they
have a
feel
nice
like
little mug.
they had the attendance like we would have years past, or does it still feel like things are slowly
yeah, no, it
picking
was
up?
it was pretty crowded. There were quite a few people there.
Okay.
I didn't notice really much difference in the number of people, and I mean, maybe a little bit less than what we're used to seeing, but I attribute part of that to it being the afternoon and it being so hot. We weren't able to get out there in the morning. When we did drive in, you could see that there were cars parked almost all the way to the end of the drive, driving into the berry farm. So my guess is that it was quite packed in the morning. But when we got there after lunch, it was about 1 o'clock. Oh, that's a good picture there.
Probably people trying to beat the heat.
Yeah, I think people were trying to beat the heat. When we got there at 1 o'clock, we were able to drive up and park up near the entrance, which was nice.
Right.
And the crowd was a little bit less, but again, not noticeably so. It didn't feel empty by any means. This was cool. So this was a car featured in one of the Harry Potter movies, that flying car that Ron Weasley drives, and they had it all outfitted with, some of the props from the show and things. So that was kind of fun. There were a lot of people in wizard costumes, obviously a lot of wand sellers, pretty much all kinds of crafts. I like the Harry Potter hat made out of leather there that Linda just had up. Where was the one with the kind of Cthulhu mask?
Yeah, that was pretty sweet. And I would say, like, if any of our people who are seeing this
There it is.
Podcast later see something they really like, because these are generally local or regional artists, you could probably contact the organizers of Potter Fair and send them a screenshot and ask which vendor this was, so they can get you in contact with that. We want to keep our local artisans paid.
Yeah.
So don't be, you could probably find any of the things in these pictures from that vendor pretty easily if you reach out to the organizers through Facebook.
So this
Yeah,
this is actually a friend of ours from the Steampunk Society of Nebraska who does a lot of steampunk work with leather. His name is Andy Rathburn, and I think it's Andy Rathburn's Den of Iniquities.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, I
Well,
love
let's,
the
check
alien
out
chest
that.
burster face mask. That is quite cool.
It is.
The just to give people an idea, so the Cthulhu mask was 500. The Krampus mask in the middle there was around 230 or 250, I think. And I can't remember what the chest burster was. I think he was a little cheaper even. But yeah, very cool. Does nice work with his leather work. So
Very cool.
yeah, definitely worth checking him out online. So yeah, it was a fun day yesterday doing that. So kind of nice way to get out and be outside, and wasn't too bad, like you say, in the shade. And it was nice to see people again, kind of be out at a con-like experience. So
Mhm.
How was everyone's like morale? Did people seem a little scared or unsure, or did it even?
no,
though it wasn't as
everybody
many
was
people, like,
everybody seemed normal. We ran into our friend Renee Roosh. She was one of the ones in the mermaid costume there that you saw on the screen. She actually lives out in Denver, Colorado. She came back for the event, and she was handing out pearls. She had like a little thing of pearls, and she'd give a pearl to all the little kids that came up to meet her. And they didn't seem any more shy than you would normally expect a young girl to be when approaching a stranger. So, and they were all happy to get the little pearls. And there was quite long lines at the food purveyors. And I'm not sure if that was mostly people buying water just to rehydrate because it was so warm, or buying actual food. But
you mean pirate water?
pirate water. Ooh, there'll be pirates here. And the Pirate Fest is coming up. They're going to have that again in August. Can't remember the exact date in August, but if you search for it online, you can find that.
I
And
can't
so
believe you didn't grab one of these dragon tails here, Bill.
Yeah, I was looking at them.
Those are pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but your friend does really nice leather work for sure.
He does. He's really good at it.
Yeah. So yeah, so that was a fun deal. And I think we were talking earlier before the show, which was kind of news to me about the Ramada closing. So what do you guys know about that?
Yeah, speaking of local cons, because I think all of us were pretty excited to see local conventions and just conventions period come back, and then to hear that one of the main places where you've had a lot of NebCon and Mystic Fest is being torn down here in Omaha. It's kind of a real bummer. We haven't heard what they're going to do, where they're going to go. Some people have argued it's time because that place just
had seen better days.
Seems old.
Yeah. At some point, something just had to be done. So
yeah.
Does anybody know what's going in that spot?
No.
No.
Yeah. Give me a second, because somebody did tell me the other day.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, while he's looking that up, are there other upcoming cons that you guys are looking forward to? Jenna, you got anything on the radar?
Oh, I'm always a fan of Pirate Fest.
Yeah.
And I would be looking for Planet Comic Con this year, but I think, with our situation, we want to maybe try and travel to some new places that we've never been after being cooped up after the pandemic.
Sure.
And put our money towards that.
Right. You got any exciting plans in that regard, or?
Well, it's not really con related. We wanted to take a week and go to the DC to see all the Smithsonian's.
Oh yeah.
Because I've never been. And
oh my
I feel
God.
deprived. And that's what we need. So we're gonna go see that.
Lynn and I have been out there. It's an amazing trip. Make sure you get to the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum. They have the I think that's where the shuttlecraft or the space shuttle Atlantis is. And they have a lot of memorabilia from the space program out there. It's really awesome. Any of the Smithsonian's are great. So
if you want to, like, what I picture the Smithsonian experience to be, and Aaron, who's been there, said it was great. If you want to go see something closer, or the viewers want to go see something closer, the Henry Ford Museum of Innovation in Dearborn, Michigan, which is about 11 hours away, 10 hours the way I drive. It's actually really worth it, because the museum could take a day, and then they've got 80 extra acres of artisan recreations like blacksmithing, glass blowing, but also these buildings that Ford, being the crazy millionaire that he was, he brought buildings back to show important innovations in technology or architecture. So there's like a colonial home. There's most of Menlo Park from Edison's lab. Like, it's crazy cool.
That would be awesome to see.
Yeah.
I wonder if any of the billionaires today are doing anything like that.
Oh yeah.
You think where they're bringing back structures from around the world and re-erecting them in an area?
Oh no, that happens all the time.
Really?
I think. Well, I mean, I know in Seattle, like there was an optometrist out. The guy that invented the contact lenses
Yeah.
had brought in, like brick by brick, had brought in a mansion from Europe.
Huh.
Kind of redid it, but brought all the bricks.
All the materials over and redid it.
Yeah. No, that was 20 years ago.
Wow. Oh, is that there's from the Henry Ford Museum? Linda pulled up a picture.
Yeah, that's a really cool way they use these strings to suspend the different pieces, and then showed the drawings of what they are and how it's put together, so it becomes more apparent. Like, talk about how simple the Model T was, but like you take it apart and obviously it wasn't that simple.
Right.
Huh. Yeah, that's a fascinating way of doing that.
But they also have like Heroes in Flight, where they have the Kitty Hawk.
Yeah.
And then they have the Wright brothers in this village that I told you about. They took apart and brought back their house.
Really?
Their bike shop.
Huh.
Yeah. It's pretty intense. They brought back because I didn't know Edison was so close to Henry Ford. Henry Ford worked for him for a while.
Huh. Yeah, I didn't
And
realize
so they
that
went
either.
vacation together.
Yeah.
Huh.
And you have to wonder if that didn't play into him out media shining against Tesla, having a
very
backer like
possible.
Ford.
I'm sure it didn't help Tesla in any way.
I kind of want to go see this now.
It's worth it. If you go soon, also in Detroit, because it's not far from Detroit, they're having an immersive Van Gogh experience.
Oh,
That's traveled from France, and I really wanted to see it when it was in Chicago. So, and then you can go to Cedar Point, Ohio, which is only 2 hours away. You can go ride roller coasters.
Nice. That'd be fun.
Because that's
Chris,
what we did.
Yeah.
So, speaking of cons, getting back to the main issue, definitely looking forward to Pirate Fest and just seeing people and seeing what happens, and then maybe doing a Ren Fair in one of the closer states, see what's going on with that, because I missed out as well, and I missed this year's because wedding shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you
I
find
will
out
say-
anything on the Ramada?
No, I can't. It's still so new. Like, this was announced last week, so and
Yeah,
the
there's-
lack of any official news from it, other than
See anything.
people that had events planned there getting told that's what's going on. Maybe points just the lack of care that people overall have that it's going away. So I don't think it's a big surprise for anyone, but yeah, there's no official news statement on it, so maybe it's not 100% official yet, but that is the word right now, is that's getting torn down. So but I mean, they've had to close it several times in the past years historically to fix it, and even then it still wasn't ever really fixed right. So I just think there's no interest in that building as it is. So if it gets torn down, we'll see what they have planned for it. I will note that area in general, where that Ramada Inn is at, has seen a lot of newer buildings or renovations in that area. So I don't expect it to stay that way for long. There used to be a gas station there. It was torn down for something else right there. New hotels, new apartment complexes, and things like that. So I think somebody has plans that they want to use that space for, and they're just going to come in there with a better, bigger building or something. So we'll see what happens over the next few years.
Huh. Interesting.
that's where the water park was, though, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a lot of fun cons held there. So hopefully some similar type venue will come back that'll be a
I hope so.
good
Yeah.
home for cons like that. So it was nice. They had a lot of open space. They had that big open area where they used to have the pool, and then they kind of turned it into more of just a gathering spot. And you could have con groups hosting party rooms all around the outside of that thing. It was just kind of a great. There it is. There's the indoor space.
Yeah, and
Great-
it was really cool
Great
because
place to
it
gather.
did provide a lot of different locations to do fun shoots during cons for people in cosplay.
Mhm.
Yep.
So it's like you hope whatever goes there, if they want to bring back these cons, because you can't blame some hotels, they don't want anything to do with it because it's madness.
Sure.
Everyone regresses to a 5 to 10-year-old at con, and
Right.
so they don't want that mess. But if they come back with that in mind to be like the con hotel of the area, it'd be cool if they kept that type of environment. just maybe more easily navigated. Because
Right.
let's be honest,
Yeah,
it
it
was
is
really
amazing.
easy to
You
get
need a
lost in
freaking map in that
flipping
place.
hotel.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'll add to that Omaha in the past few years has been trying to find opportunities to build new things to attract talent, if you will, and people from all of the areas. So hopefully they take this as an opportunity, if they do tear it down, to think of that going forward, because that does seem to drive a lot of the projects that they've been doing over the last decade or so. Trying to bring in talent. They want people coming from Kansas City up here instead of people going down to Kansas City, for example.
Right.
So hopefully, with this news that's getting torn down, that they're keeping that in mind and build something up that attracts even more people. So not that we need any more traffic at that particular street, but
Good point. Well, whatever they build there, I'm going to make sure Charles signs off on it before I go in.
No,
If Charles won't
don't
go in
count
there,
on it.
Charles like, yeah, no, I wouldn't go in that building. I'm not going in.
So, what about you all? Do you all think, are you going to go to Planet Comic-Con? Is there any steampunk stuff coming back?
There's definitely a huge steampunk convention coming back this year. That's TeslaCon, held in Madison, Wisconsin. And we're definitely going to that. Linda and I and Audie.
Didn't they just have a plague theme before the pandemic happened, or weren't they supposed to have a pandemic
They
theme
were,
post-COVID?
yeah. So the pandemic canceled the TeslaCon in 2021, and it was sort of a
2020.
War of the Worlds, Mars kind of a theme.
Mhm.
H.G. Wells, and so the way it was going to play out is that the Martians had come and then had released sort of a plague. So most of the populace of the Earth was living underground in underground rail system, abandoned rail systems and things like that, and then coming up and battling the Martians at night. And you had to wear, face masks kind of a thing, and that whole sort of thing. And then that kind of happened for real. So TeslaCon got postponed. So this year, they're just redoing that whole thing, just kind of held it over. So November 4th through the 8th. And we'll definitely be checking that out with Audie. And we've got a number of other friends that are going to that. It's a huge, huge draw for the steampunk world. So the nice thing is the way they do it, it's a full immersion weekend. So they go in and they even alter the hotel, replace paintings in the hotel, wall hangings. They put sound systems in the lobby and down the corridors leading to the convention space to lead you to feel like you're immersed in that particular world for the event. And yeah, they just have they have so many panels and demonstrations and hands-on things. It's just usually a problem trying to figure out which one you're going to go to, because there's so many good things held at one time. And then what Linda has up on the screen there is the Saturday night of the con is kind of the big extravaganza show. So the whole theme builds up to Saturday night, where they usually do this extravaganza that's kind of like a movie, and you can be on an airship, or it can be in the middle of a Battle of Britain, for example, or maybe you're taking an airship into the center of the earth. That was one of the themes one year. So it's always fun. It's fascinating to see what Eric Larson does. He used to work for Disney years ago. So he's kind of a creative genius and force behind TeslaCon, and it's always amazing to see what he comes up with every year to keep it fresh and keep it new and keep it fun. So, yeah. So there's a book series. So that's Eric Larson there on the cover in the front. And his character in all of these is Lord Bombadil. He's the Prime Minister of England, and the guy behind him there on the left is Procticus. He's Dr. Procticus. He's the evil guy that's always battling the forces of good, and so there's always some battle going on for the first 10 years of the con. So this will be the 11th year, and the Procticus arc kind of wrapped up in year 10. So now we're starting a whole new theme this year. It'll probably go for another 10 years, I would guess. And we'll see where it takes us. So it's kind of fun. Linda and I didn't hear about TeslaCon until probably 5-6 years ago was the first time we went. And I was already well into that first 10-year story. So it was easy to catch up. So you can come in at any point, but it's really kind of fun to be there at the groundbreaking of the new season, or I think of it as a season, I guess, the new 10-year event. So we're looking great forward to that. So there's that. We might do Planet Comic-Con in Kansas City. Just kind of depends on, is that in September? Does anybody know?
No, I thought it was in August.
August.
So August might be doable. We got a vacation planned in September. So that would be a fun one. That's always a good one. Huge convention, lots of vendors, tons of stuff to see, tons of things to spend your money on.
Isn't that where somebody kind of got carried away with the lightsabers?
I wonder who that was.
Lightsabers? No.
That was Audie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a scene from one of the costume shows at Planet Comic-Con.
They're good too. There's a lot of really good costumes.
Oh yeah.
I know, it makes you want to get into it.
Those people really bring their A game. So if you want to go see some great costumes and some great cosplayers, it's a great Midwest con to go hit up, check out. So, so we'll probably do that again this year. Let's see, what else? Anything else coming up that we want to mention? If not, I can proceed into my science question that I have for a panel of science experts today.
Did you guys want to talk about Jupiter's legacy?
Well, we kind of mentioned it briefly, the fact that it's been, Chris had
I have a little bit of a rant on that. Actually,
go off on that. Yeah, let's hit up on that.
I mean, it really looked interesting.
Speaking of, we're talking about things coming back that we're looking forward to this year. There's things that we seem to get introduced to that go away and then never come back.
Right.
And that's Jupiter's legacy. So I started this series recently looking for something else to kind of get into. Like I said, I watched just about everything. And this show basically covers a group of heroes with superpowers. Think your Superman type abilities, and their families, their kids, and what their legacy is left behind for them, what their kids are going to carry forward as far as the torch, and how they should be acting as superheroes against the villains. And in the world that this is kind of born into, is the villains are no longer playing by the rules. The main guy, they call him like Utopian. He has this golden rule that you don't kill. And the reality is, in this show, you have heroes dying left and right because of their following the rules and not killing the villains. And the villains are just out there killing whoever. So the kids really struggle with that, the next generation of superheroes. And so there's this tear between the old way of doing the superhero work and the new way. So they spend this series jumping between the current and the past. And when you get to the end, it kind of comes full circle and explains how these people got their powers, and the stories that led up to it, which was kind of cool how they did it. And then we get news recently that Netflix has just decided to drop the show. And that's disappointing because it just barely got started. It's a story that they didn't even finish really in season 1, which was hugely disappointing. And their lack of commitment to doing something for 2 or 3 seasons to actually get it some legs is, frankly, at this point kind of pissed me off, because it's not the first time we've seen it.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing they did with the Irregulars.
Yeah, same thing with the Irregulars.
It says May 7th, but yet we're just now into June and they've already decided not to go anymore.
Correct.
I don't get that.
So I'm a little bit concerned because I feel like we are getting a little bit of an overload of all these new series that are coming out.
Mhm.
And when they're doing that, I read somewhere they spent like 200 million making this. And if money is your issue, which for Netflix, that, let's be real, that's not a lot of money. If you're Netflix, why are you spending so much on something you're not committed to?
Right.
To me, that's an absolute waste of money. Now, it's worth saying they do plan on continuing Jupiter's Legacy's story from a different point of view or a different aspect. It's called like Super Crooks or something like that. They're going to do another series. They've already committed to another series, which I probably won't watch, just to say screw you. And keep in mind, like, this is where I'm at. I watch everything. I don't really care who makes it or the quality of it, but like, I don't want to watch these anymore if it's just going to dangle me off the edge of a cliff there, and you're not really going to complete the story. So I have no faith in their commitment, and that goes for Netflix or any studio out there that can't commit on finishing a story that they started, that they put good actors in here. And the production quality wasn't A+. This isn't like the Avengers.
Hey, it was an A-.
It was. I'll give it like a B or something like that.
How
okay?
dare you?
But that's just to be fair. But my thing is, I didn't expect higher production quality because it was the first round. It was like a pilot, know. So when you give it legs, you start to see that production quality improve over time, right?
Sure.
You start to see any things that they didn't button up nice in the first one, as far as storylines or characters that maybe didn't develop as much as you would have wanted. You give them a couple seasons to fix that, and they didn't even get that far, which is disappointing because they had so much that they built into this world that they could have worked on to, at least in my opinion, I could see that stretching 3 to 5 seasons at minimum. And they just kind of killed it, and it was very disappointing. And their only response was, we're going to move on. We're going to do in the same universe as Jupiter's Legacy. We're going to do a different one based off of villains. And I feel like maybe this is, Netflix is trying to throw stuff at the wall to maybe compete with The Boys, which I think we've all watched and we've enjoyed. And The Boys was, in my opinion, a little bit better production quality, but at least for The Boys, whether you loved it or hate it, they got a few seasons to start out, regardless of how good or great you think the series started. And I think Jupiter's Legacy had potential, and it was killed before it even got molded into what it could have been.
It's frustrating to spend the time to get into a new series, only to have it end after the first season with a bunch of cliffhangers that you were hoping to get resolution to, and they just kind of leave the fans out hanging out to dry, which I think it does a disservice to our community in terms of giving us something to cosplay, giving something to wrap around. You're killing fan bases here that no longer want to engage with you on any of these new types of series because you have a lack of commitment. And when you start setting that trend, it's disturbing because now we don't want to watch anything, And it gets to the point where you want to wait until there's 3 seasons of something out before you get started.
Before you invest
the time, just so that you're going to have something to continue to watch. But then, of course, if you're doing that, it's less likely that these shows are going to last because nobody's going to be watching the first season. So
they're going to be like, our viewing ratings are so low, and it's like, well, because I don't know if you're actually committed to this.
Right.
And those who made that decision, I feel like they didn't take into account. Okay, this came out May. And that's a huge graduation time, transition college time. Like, people are just busy, and maybe they're just trying to catch up. And generally, it seems like we look at it on Netflix like, oh, we'll come back to it and get into it eventually. And you see a lot of stuff that they had on their channel for a month or two, and then it suddenly gets really popular.
Yeah, well, and not just the graduations, but the fact that so many people have been vaccinated now, and restrictions
they just
are getting
got
lifted,
out.
and people can actually be outside socializing with each other rather than sitting home watching TV, which we've been doing it for the past year and a half, right? As a way of getting through the pandemic.
Right.
Now people kind of want to get out. They've got the cabin fever. They want to get out. They want to see people and do things. And these shows would be sitting there when they come back in, but now there's no incentive to watch. So.
So it's hugely disappointing. I know the main actor, Josh Duhamel. Josh Duhamel. He plays the Utopian. His name is Sheldon Sampson. He's basically the leader of the Utopians. He even came out and said, "Hey, I'm pretty disappointed in this." And he even tweeted at I think Hulu. He tagged Hulu saying, "Hey, if somebody else wants to pick up this series, him and the cast, frankly, are open to continuing it. They want to.
Yeah.
They enjoyed the work that they did. They had a good superhero gig, if you will." And again, when it comes to what Netflix wants to move on to, I don't care to watch it. You can take your super crooks and shove it, because what are you going to give me, a season or something and say that didn't work out either and move on?
Right.
And I do see you have series like I think Lucifer has been kicked around a couple times, picked up by other networks, and then they just continue where it left off. I don't mind that. So if somebody wants to pick it up, so this was his rebuttal, right?
This is his picture in Hulu.
You like a hot hunk Santa, for the year or something? This is kind of your photo for it. So yeah,
The Santa
he's like,
only
look, guys,
visits all the
I
bad
made
girls."
this for this series. Look at me. Look at what I symbolize here. And
Right.
he's like, if you want more of this, support the series.
Yeah.
I can get behind that. I'm gonna go find that and I'm gonna like it and retweet it or something. But I'm disappointed, and they're disappointed too. And it's not just us that this is causing a problem with, right? This is going to cause a problem with actors, right?
Yeah.
Actors aren't going to want to be a part of Netflix or Hulu or HBO Max or Amazon or any of those these studios that can't give them a full commitment. So,
Well, and it was kind of the same thing with The Expanse too, because Sci-Fi started that. They had a huge hit on their hands, immensely popular, and then they just decided to cancel it. Now, fortunately, Amazon picked it up and ran with it, and I'm glad they did.
Finish it properly.
What's that?
So they could finish it and finish it properly.
Right.
Yeah.
And so thankfully that was done. But it's this kind of thing where they come out with these. They put all this effort into coming up with these great ideas and these great actors and the storyline, and they get people invested, and then they just drop it, and it's just frustrating as hell. So
no, this just kind of popped in my head as you were bringing that up. I do wonder what kind of money is in selling the licensing to another studio when you do that.
Yeah.
So how much money is there? More money in it doing that than there is continuing to produce it on your own dime.
Right.
And I wonder if that's something that might be done intentionally among some studios to say, hey, we're going to do a season and we're going to see who's interested in buying it from us.
Right.
Although if it's really crazy awesome, then we're going to keep it.
If it really starts just printing money, then we'll hold on to it. But
that seems like a pretty big gamble, because do you really hear? Other than The Expanse, I haven't really heard of too many shows like that being picked up by other streaming services.
But I do think we're seeing a trend of it happening more often than not. It used to not be a thing. A show would die, and then now a show gets canceled, but not really. It becomes maybe somebody will pick up the show.
I see. Yeah. Right.
I do think we're seeing more and more of that. So I'm going to throw that out there. I wonder if there's some kind of financial incentive for doing it, where you get paid on the licensing of that. I'll dig into that, because I'm now kind of curious as to when The Expanse was picked up by someone else, what kind of money was involved in that deal. When it happened with Lucifer, when it happened with a couple other shows, what was really involved in that show getting picked up by someone else? What did that licensing cost?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, we should definitely look into that. Oh, and then something else we're going to talk about that we talked about in a couple of past shows was the Pentagon releasing their UFO report. And I don't know that that's fully out yet, but there was some talk on some of the morning shows about that this week. And, it struck me as kind of a whitewash of the whole thing, because they were mostly the take on it on the morning shows was that, this is possibly some advanced drone technology being used by our adversaries. And if that's the case, we need to get to the bottom of it. And it's like,
and if that's what they said, then they're completely ignoring the fact that
Right.
they've said multiple times when you talk to the people who are at the Department of Defense who've come forward that it is not possible to be produced on this planet at this time.
Right.
Like as fast as these things are moving.
Right. You don't
It's-
see
it-
these upside down flashing triangles
Going-
trailing our aircraft.
Yeah, going from the ocean back into the sky.
Right.
That's not, it's drone technology, but there's nothing to absolutely point towards our adversaries having that technology.
Right. I mean, if they had technology like that, they'd have a lot more frightening war vehicles that we'd have to worry about than just drones, I'm sure.
And not to mention what they would have already started doing commercially
Yeah,
with
right.
that technology to just make more money and to make their economy more powerful and to take control of the technology around the world.
Yeah. I mean, if you can build drones that can fly at these fantastic speeds that some of these are recorded at 1,000 miles an hour, great 2,000 miles an hour,
And
and then
not fall apart. in the
suddenly,
atmosphere.
yeah, and then suddenly veer off at a right angle and not totally self-destruct. I mean, no, sorry, I'm not
And
buying it.
if it were our foes with this technology and they're experimenting with it, why would they do that in the middle of a U.S. carrier battle group?
Right. They'd be testing
Yeah.
that out in a secret base somewhere until they had it
Yeah.
perfected.
Mhm.
Right.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's to
Intimidate the enemy.
Yeah.
not so much intimidate, but just to see what they do.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, what's
You've got
their
Russia that
response
will just
plan?
take a jet and fly it right up next to a limit that they know they should not be doing. We'll do flybys or whatever, just to stir things up a little bit. And
Sort of a Top Gun moment where they're flying inverted in a jet over the other jet.
we were
Right.
inverted.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Oh my gosh, that scene. Now I can't get it out of my head.
I
Now
know.
I'm thinking
the
actually
good old
of
days.
Hot Shots. Remember that?
Oh, God.
Yes, Hot Shots is another
Yeah.
insane one. So I don't know. I don't know what I want to believe here, but I also don't want to be ignorant that the DoD isn't always truthful either on what they have capabilities of and what other countries have capabilities of. I won't go so as far as to call them, always foes or anything like that. I think we as Americans always kind of jump to the more dangerous side of things, the more cynical viewpoint of it. We're
Yeah.
always like, what are they going to do? Our enemies have this crazy technology, and
Right.
what are they going to do with us? As opposed to like, we need advances in surveillance. We need advances in a lot of things, and I don't jump to it could be something harmful, but I mean it could be at the same time. I don't know. I don't have enough information to feel one way or the other. Is what I'll say.
Yeah.
Do I believe that we need more information? Absolutely. Do I believe it's something from this world? I can't really say because nobody has claimed, to have seen anything that can move like this does. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist out there.
Right.
So we've seen so many cool technological advancements over the last decade, even that we'd be foolish to think that, if it didn't come out of America, that, it doesn't exist.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know which way to lean on that. And I've seen commentary online of, why would the DoD basically admit to, there are things that we don't control in our own airspace. And I'm like, well, just take that out of context, or just take it out of the picture for now. It's not about that. We should be focusing on what is this? Where did it come from?
Yeah.
Let's not be like, oh no, we're not secure. Someone's going to sneak in here and
Yeah.
and drop bombs on us, and we're not going to be able to do anything about it. Like, don't.
I mean,
don't
there's
jump
that
to
too, but
that.
Well, and the other option too is that, this might be a great way to help increase their black projects budget.
Yeah, and that could be a thing too. Like, I mean, we could have made it, flown it out there, denied we had any knowledge of it, and then used it as an excuse to say, hey, we need 25 billion, we're 25 trillion
To
or
study
whatever,
this phenomenon.
to study this or get caught up on it. We need to replicate this technology. There could be a little bit of that too.
Yeah. And one of the comments, they interviewed some guy that was in charge of the military's project on unidentified aerial phenomenon. And I think he was on 60 Minutes recently, too. But he had said that the footage that we've seen so far is the least convincing
Yes.
of their
Yeah.
available
Yep.
footage that they've got. So, I mean, if you look at this footage and you say, well, yeah, I don't know, that it's not clear. I mean, they've got apparently a lot more convincing footage.
And what's hilarious to me is some of the best commentary I've seen on that is you can't really make out what you're looking at in any of these things. And it is, what year is it? It is 2021. My cell phone does a better job of capturing video for this. And you're telling me they don't have better tech on these
Right.
jets or their ships where they're recording this information.
Right.
So how much of it is distorted intentionally? How much of it is, so I take that piece of it with a grain of salt that you can release this, but you can't give us the clear footage.
Right.
I mean, the things that we can capture on camera today from a device in your hand is incredible, speaking to technological advancement. So, I mean, if this is the best we can do for capturing it, I mean, yeah, then maybe we've got our head up our own asses, and we just need to understand that, there are people out there with better technology, and just because we didn't make it or it didn't come out of our labs, we're not aware of it, or we don't, you can't buy it at a Best Buy or something that
Right.
it's out there. So, I don't know which side of the fence I'm on it, but I'm definitely skeptical. And I also would like to see more news from global sources, right? I want to see what does Russia have? What do people in anywhere in the world have? Not just what we have.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As far as footage on this type
As far
of
as
thing?
footage, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And if they're all grainy, I'm gonna give up. I don't like if it's all grainy footage from all over the world. I'm like, come on, you're telling me someone did not capture this on like a 4K or 8K camera?
All right.
You're kidding me.
The Men in Black stopped them from showing it.
Right?
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Well, I think we have just enough time for my science question of the day. This has to do with air-powered vehicles.
Okay.
So think of like a sailing ship. All right. The wind's pushing on the sail and pushing the ship forward. Right. So the question is it possible to have a wind-powered ship that can actually travel faster than the wind that's blowing it?
No.
Nope.
Okay, we got two no's. Jenna's thinking, and she's thinking,
Well,
and she's
Fine.
thinking.
No.
I'm gonna change my answer to yes.
Okay.
Because
All
I
right.
said no. Contrarian.
No, the more I think about it, so if you have a wind-powered ship that's propelled by the wind, if that wind stops, it doesn't necessarily mean the ship stops.
Well,
So
true.
effectively-
Okay. So I'm saying, so let's assume a constant velocity wind,
Okay,
10 miles an hour.
if you're gonna say that, then no.
Okay. So
As
everybody says
you
no.
mentioned a scientific question, so I started to think about the scenarios. there.
Yeah,
So I
right.
said
You
yes.
started to think about a tricky way that I was going to manipulate this.
Yes.
Okay.
So-
So
Surprise.
yes, actually
Yeah.
it can. And
What?
actually you can watch this out on YouTube. The guy that does the Veritasium videos did this. And so there was this guy that proposed that this was possible, and everybody told him no, he was insane. And he said, well, people do it today. You can do it today with sailing ships. If sailing ships tack, they can actually end up going faster than the wind speed by tacking across the wind.
Uh-huh.
Okay. But nobody believed that it was possible to go with the wind and exceed the wind speed. And so this guy
Oh.
said, well, okay, so if you can do it when you're tacking in a sailing ship and you're tacking sort of, excuse me, across the wind, and you can go faster than the wind. So he said, imagine the Earth as a cylinder, and a giant cylinder, right? And you've got this ship on there, and you've got a constant wind speed going down this cylinder 10 miles an hour. And you've got this sailing ship that's tacking, and it's kind of going in a corkscrew fashion around this cylinder Earth, right?
Okay.
And it can go faster than the wind. And he said, now imagine a sailing ship opposite that, tacking in the other direction. So it's doing a different kind of a corkscrew action.
Yeah.
And he said both of those ships are essentially moving. They're tacking, but they're moving faster than the wind because they can do that when you tack. So he said, what if we design a ship? And so keep that window up of the ship there, Linda. We design a ship with this fan blade on it. And the fan blade is duplicating the effect of two tacking ships by feathering this fan blade. And so you'll see if you watch this video that the arguments went on for a long time that this wasn't possible. And they finally, in order to prove it, because he constructed a scale model, put it on a treadmill so that, it wouldn't race off in his basement. And then he put a fan behind it, and the thing actually accelerated faster than the fan was blowing the wind. And everybody said, oh, it's a trick. You got wires, you're doing this. So they decided to scale it up to full scale and try it. And this thing actually ends up going faster than the wind speed. And what happens is they can feather these blades. So they start out with them kind of flat, and the wind begins to push this thing, and the blades start to spin a little bit. Now, as the wind spins this prop, there's a chain on it that drives the rear wheels. And actually, sorry, the other way, I'm confusing it a little bit. So the wind's pushing this thing, the wheels start rotating. And as the wheels rotate, they turn the prop. And the prop actually acts as a fan, pushing wind out the back. And so what's happening is it's using the wind speed not only to move forward, but also to create this fan that pushes wind in the other direction.
Bill, why does this have a hold my beer vibe?
Yeah, you really need to watch the video. It's incredible. I would have been right in the same boat with you guys and said, no, this is ridiculous. Physics says this is not possible. This can't be done, but actually it can, and it does work. And you will see incontrovertible proof of this if you watch that video.
That's pretty cool, because can you imagine then, because this is what we're struggling with. A lot of supplies still go across the ocean by ship.
Yeah.
And you just accept that that's how fast those ships go, because it's a balance of moving this massive carrier with fuel and not just burning through too much fuel to get it where it needs to on time. So if they do apply this to the supply chain, where we can start moving large amounts of items that much faster, it's going to be really incredible what could happen in terms of availability and how much cheaper shipping could become.
Yeah. At the end of the video, it's interesting because he kind of does the whole physics thing, explaining how this whole thing operates and why it works. And so that's the very interesting part to see as well, is why this actually works. And but yeah, definitely encourage people to go out there and watch it. It's Veritasium on YouTube. And you'll definitely just do a search for Veritasium. You'll see it. It's his latest video. And it was kind of funny because he says the thing's kind of shoddily assembled because they did it on a super cheap budget. And he said, I feel like I'm riding in a coffin. And he's like, if this thing gets going too fast, how do I stop it? And the guy goes, so there's the guy that built it. There's the other guy that now owns it. And they both are kind of like equal experts on the whole thing. And he says, how do I stop the thing? And the one guy says, well, pull back on the feathering thing. The other guy says, no, push forward on the feathering thing. He goes, wait a minute, both of you guys are disagreeing on how I stop this thing. And they said, well, just do whatever feels right at the moment. And he's like, what?
Which may be bailing and letting it crash into a rock. You don't know. That could feel right at the moment.
Right. Yeah. He was a little nervous taking the project on, but it was cool. I mean, I love that channel. This guy does a great job of tackling difficult science things and explaining it in a sort of a layman's fashion so people can understand what's going on. His one on light speed and does light travel the same in all directions was fascinating. I think we talked about that on a previous show as well. So definitely check out his channel. So.
That's pretty cool. And I appreciate that you kind of see where mechanics and physics kind of come together.
Right.
To just discard an equation or how we assume some things work just because of how it's written in a white paper somewhere.
Well, right, right.
Let's build it and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that kind of thing. And I love that there's these entrepreneurs out there that are willing to invest this money to try to prove this type of thing. And just sort of makes you, think, even when you see stuff like this, that the conventional wisdom on,
this is where he goes. You can see he's actually going faster than the wind because of the stripe. And look at the windsock; it's blowing the wind in the opposite direction.
Blowing the wind that way, and you can see the nose cone there. That little ribbon he has there is going the other direction. You can see as soon as he starts going faster than the wind speed.
Boom! There he is. He's now faster than wind speed. And there's the sock going the other way.
That is a little bit nuts.
Yeah, isn't it?
That's the part where you're like, what?
So in my mind, if you have a shit ton of money and you're not going to be Batman, you need to be putting your money into cool stuff like this and innovations. Because I'm tired of seeing you all just putting your your new watch that you bought or your new car or your house and vacations on Instagram. Let's see what cool science thing you're doing.
Yeah, cool.
There should be like a prize for this sort of thing, or establish an ongoing thing where you have, now that this is proven possible, now you try to encourage people to perfect it and to make reduce friction in any possible way to make this an even more viable technology.
Right.
Kind of a thing. Yeah, I think that would be awesome. If I was a billionaire, that's the kind of thing I'd be doing for sure.
But other than, also being a supervillain,
there is that.
On the weekends.
You have to have your public persona and then your real persona, Jenna.
Thank God we have Linda to keep you in check. Although Aaron and I discussed it, we think you're not a real boy thing that John would always complain about because all the luck happens. It's because you're the synergy that Linda gives you. So if she's not in the picture, the spell is broken.
It all goes to shit.
She gives you the synergy that gives you all these fortunate things that happen to you, like your gold coins and passes at Planet Comic-Con.
Linda, hold up your left arm.
Yeah.
See, there's Linda. She absorbs all the negativity.
Oh yeah.
So without her synergy, then the real boy phenomenon doesn't happen for you.
I think you may be right there. I think you may be right.
I think it's his turn to start taking the hits. I don't know.
No.
Otherwise, 2 or 3 years ago, you messed up your wrist.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, about 3 years ago, I think it was. Yeah, I
wasn't there at the time.
Fractured.
I was there.
Actually, she was there. We were on a taking a break from the office. Went out, walked around the park at work, came back to the office, and I tripped stepping up on the curb. They'd put in a new.
In his defense, the curb they put in was way higher than.
They had redone the concrete there because it was all cracked, and they put in the new curb, and it was a lot higher than the old one. And after 20 years of knowing how to step up on the old one, I just misjudged it. Went down, fractured my wrist.
But it's a rough go.
Yeah, shit happens. So.
Exactly.
All right.
We weren't so soft. As humans.
Thank you guys. It's been a good discussion. A lot of fun as always. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody again in a couple of weeks. We'll have some more fun stuff to talk about. And until then, take care and stay tuned to science and science fiction. Ta-ta. See you all later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Galactic Driftwood Podcast. For more information and past episodes, please visit our website at galacticdriftwood.space or subscribe to us on YouTube. And now, please deactivate your cranial downlinks, collect your towels, and be sure to watch your step as you exit our gravity well.